Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. As you know, I love big trucks and big SUVs, and they don't come any bigger or more luxurious than this 2023 Cadillac Escalade ESV, which is a stretched version of the already large Cadillac Escalade. I love the way it designs. It has the beautiful 6.2-liter V8 engine, and the driving and the feel on the road is fantastic. But what I want to do today is to do a full engineer's audit and engineer's review and tell you 25 things you should know about the 2023 Cadillac Escalade ESV. Let's go. Welcome back. So the first thing I want to point out as an engineer is the quality check of this new Escalade. How is it built in terms of manufacturing quality, panel fit, panel alignment, and also the paint quality as well. So I do my usual gauge test. That's my first point I want to talk about today. And the gap is actually very good. It's 3 millimeter here, a bit wider here at 3.5 millimeter. So that's better than many other domestic vehicles that I've come across, because most of them are around 4 to 4.5 millimeters. Between front fender and front door is also 3.2. And this is 3 millimeter. And actually 3.3 millimeter as well. So overall, in terms of just the panel fit and how the panel align together, you know what, it's actually better than the Toyota Sequoia that I measured earlier, and better than most other vehicles, which is maybe surprising because some of you guys are wondering whether the manufacturing quality of a domestic vehicle like this is as good as the Japanese. So far it does. So that's the first thing I want to point out. The second thing I want to point out though is that there are some minor issues. For example, if you look at the corner here, it doesn't quite line up perfectly. It's within acceptable range, but it's not, let's say, a Lexus level if you want to, let's say, compare it to some of the best in the world. And here also the edge, almost perfect, but off just a tiny bit. I'm just being picky here as an engineer, but no problem there, and no problem there as well. So overall, the panel fit and panel alignment is excellent. What about the paint job? So that's now the third thing I want to point out on this Escalade ESV. Typically speaking, General Motors paint job has been very good over the years, because their clear coat is really well done. You can tell by looking at it through the side here that the clear coat is maybe a little bit thicker than other manufacturers I've seen, but you do get a fair amount of orange peel. That's like the texture of the orange skin, and so some of that is evident over here, but it looks pretty good. Now the fourth thing I'm going to do and point out to you is check for paint thickness, so let me do that with a gauge. So I have the paint thickness gauge here, which measures the total amount of thickness of paint above the sheet metals. Obviously, thicker the better in terms of overall durability, but car companies always try to make it as thin as possible to save money and time, and also to save weight. So that's always a bit of a balancing act. Let's see how the thickness of the paint is on this Escalade. Let me measure the hood first. 150 microns. So you want the thickness to be between 100 to 150 microns, which is pretty well average. So this is actually what I expected. 129 also right in the middle of the average. One more test here. 140 and 114, a little bit thinner here. Let's double check one more time, different spot. 102. So other than this door, which is a little bit thinner than the other one, pretty well everything else is what I would expect. 138. Generally speaking, if you were to compare this to, let's say, a Toyota or Lexus, they're between 110 to 120 microns. So this one's maybe a little bit thicker than typical Lexus model, but not by much. The Lexus LX600 I measured, which had a special paint on it, and that one was around 140 to 150. So we're in the same neighborhood. So nothing unusual about the paint thickness. And as I mentioned earlier, the actual clear coat on it is really good. There's lots of gloss, and the depth of the paint in terms of pigmentation, in terms of flakes of the metallic, also really well done. So I think the paint job is really good. The fifth thing you should know about the Escalade ESV is that it has a proven 6.2-liter V8 engine. That's right, 6.2. It's definitely not a small engine by any chance, but this 6.2 V8 has been used in many other General Motors products, so it's been around for a long time, and it's proven to be quite reliable. They have some issues maybe some years ago, but that's all sorted out, and it's been absolutely fantastic engine. It's probably the best part of this vehicle because I love this V8 engine and I absolutely love the way it drives because of this engine. So this engine has won many hearts of those people who's purchased General Motors products with a 6.2 liter V8 engine. You can get smaller V8 engine on other Escalade, but this particular ESV, which is a stretched version, comes with a big boy. And you know what? It's probably the best V8 engine out there. The second thing you should know is that the horsepower rating is 420 horsepower. And unlike maybe modern turbocharged engine, the actual peak torque and peak horsepower might happen a little bit later than in the turbocharged engines that you see these days, but the actual delivery of power and torque is very smooth and refined, and that's what makes this thing so good to drive. The seventh thing you should know is that the engine is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission that has been extremely well calibrated. I sometimes have a problem with other automakers' 9 or 10-speed automatic transmission because they have a rough shifting, but on this one, extremely well engineered. You can barely feel the shifting as it goes up and down all 10 speeds. So along with the V8 engine, the automatic transmission is another highlight of this Escalade. So we are on the 8th point now, and that is this particular Escalade is ESV, which actually stands for Escalade Stretched Version. You can see how much longer it is than the normal Escalade, and not too many manufacturers offer this extended version anymore. I do wish that Toyota did come up with a Sequoia with an extended length, but they don't offer that. That would have been an interesting thing to have from Toyota, but obviously it's a bit of a niche vehicle and not everyone needs this much space. But now that I have been driving this for a while and I'm used to the size, I really do like having this extra space in the back for third seat and also for cargo, which I'll show in a second. But is it for you? Do you like the extended version or do you like the normal Escalade? I would be curious to know your comments. The 9th point is about the tires and the wheels, which is a massive 22-inch. In fact, the tire size is 275/50 R22. So even though it's a big wheel, it's also very low profile, which gives you a good mixture and balance of ride and handling. This is also using a Bridgestone Alenza tires, which is perhaps the most common tires that is used in luxury SUVs. And it's a very refined, quiet, and smooth riding tires, but definitely not suited for any kind of serious off-roading. But for everyday drive and all-season driving, this is one of the better tires. So that's the 9th point. The 10th point is that this entire liftgate can be lifted by simply tapping on this big emblem for Cadillac, but you can also just pop out this rear window here. I'll show you that in a second, which is very convenient. So you can just kind of put things in and out of the rear without having to open the entire liftgate, and that's something that's useful, and I like that. But it is a very big liftgate for sure. The 11th point is that this particular Escalade comes with a sport package. So it has glossy black trims across the entire model. The grille, all of the different emblems and so forth are all blacked out. Even here is blacked out, even the roof, the rack is blacked out and so forth. If you go to the back here, it's all blacked out in terms of the actual decals. Not this big logo here. I think they want to keep that intact. So it's got the very subtle but cool look that goes really well with the dark gray metallic paint. I love the design actually. It's very understated, but it looks good actually from my perspective. The 12th point is that it comes with electric running board, which I really like. I had that on one of my 4Runners before and makes it so much easier to get in and out. The 13th thing I want to point out is a seat design, which is a lot more supportive and sportier than you would think. First of all, in terms of design, you get a flared look with the pinstriping, and you get a very fancy logo and also the cross stitching here. It makes the whole thing look sportier than expected in a luxury SUV, but you also get really good side support if you happen to be driving along a winding road, for example. It holds you in place, and lots of adjustments are available on this Escalade seating. The 14th thing is that even on this fancy seat, you get a built-in speaker here, which give you a sound very close to your ear to magnify the intensity of the music, which by the way reminds me that the stereo system is absolutely amazing on this vehicle. Very clear and very rich coming out of the AJAC system, which is an optional stereo system. It's perhaps one of the best sounding audio system I've heard so far in a luxury SUV. The 15th thing is about the interior design, which as expected, looks shockingly good. Now, I'm going to admit that some of the earlier models from General Motors were not always the best in terms of interior design, but in the last several years, they really got the design right, and I really like this kind of taper design here with a good stitching and a big screen here, as well as digital cluster in front of the driver. So I like the design overall, and it's also quite functional. But I do admit that sometimes trying to navigate through all of the menu can be a bit overwhelming, and perhaps it's not quite as easy as some of the other brands I've seen, but it's moving in the right direction. Now we're up to 16th point, and that is about the ergonomics of the buttons and function. Thankfully, we still get real buttons here for all of the HVAC controls, as well as real button for the audio system here, and this is still a touchpad as well. So in terms of ergonomics and functionality of the switches and the buttons, it's great because we get both touch and physical buttons, which is something that many manufacturers no longer offer. The 17th thing is that you get both legacy USB-A and USB-C, while many other competitors have moved away from offering USB-A altogether and only offer USB-C, but many of us still use normal traditional USB-A. So you get that over there, but you also get two more over here, so I'm really glad they're offering both. The 18th one is an important one, and I can't show you right now because I'm sitting still here in the parking lot, but that is the availability of the Super Cruise, which is the General Motors answer to hands-free adaptive cruise control. Unlike many other normal adaptive cruise control, this one allows you to drive completely hands-free without intervening. So it's not asking me to hold the steering wheel or to touch the steering wheel every once in a while. It's letting me cruise without touching. It does check for attention, so if I'm not looking straight or I'm looking sideways, it will actually turn off the Super Cruise and tells me I'm not paying attention. But other than that, I was able to drive from Vancouver down to the south of the US border for about 2 hours without touching the steering. And then when I want to change lanes, if that option is turned on, I can simply turn on the signal and the system will automatically move me to the next lane by checking the space and to ensure that there are no cars that could interfere with that change of lanes. So really well designed system, perhaps the best in the industry. I wish that maybe Toyota or Lexus would offer something like this, but their adaptive cruise control is not quite at that level yet. So for now, the General Motors Super Cruise and something similar from Ford rules the world when it comes to cruise control system. The 19th thing you should know is that you do get both two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, but also you can put it in automatic four-wheel drive, which means that in the winter conditions when it's both dry and slippery road conditions mixed together, you can just leave it in automatic and you don't have to switch back and forth between two-wheel and four-wheel drive like you do have to do on the Sequoia, for example. So I know that many domestic automakers offer that, which is something that is missing from a Toyota lineup for the Sequoia anyways, and I wish they had it. But anyhow, for the Cadillac Escalade, you get all three options: two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and automatic four-wheel drive. The 20th thing is about the second row of seat, which has a huge amount of space. This is a captain's chair style, so we get lots of space in the middle, and you can move the seat forward and backward as well to give you more space here or more space in the back, and even the second row of seats are very comfortable. The 21st thing you should know is the third row of seat, which has plenty of space. Maybe it's not the most comfortable seat compared to the second row and the first row, but I'm very comfortable with it. Lots of headroom actually, pretty good knee room when the thing is up as well, and overall comfort is surprisingly good. And that is the one advantage of having the ESV version, because you get more space in the back. Now we're on the 22nd point, and that is in the second row of seat, we get two big screens as an option, which will allow you to watch TVs or movie or hook up to a game or so forth. So yes, you get a lot of features for this Escalade ESV. 23rd thing I want to point out is the fact that you get a huge amount of space in the back, even with a third row of seat up, because this is perhaps the biggest complaint of other three-row SUVs, is that when the third row seat is up, you get a very tiny amount of seat. And in this case, this is almost as much as other two-row SUVs have. So you don't have to compromise the cargo space, even though you have a 3 rows of seats in this Cadillac Escalade ESV. The 24th thing is something you would expect in the car of this price range, but you also get automatic seat folding here for both the second row as well as the third row. So everything can be folded right from the back, which is super convenient. And the 25th point is perhaps the most important one that I want to bring up to you, which is the way the thing drives on the road. If you want ultimate comfort, luxury, refinement, and smoothness, well, there's nothing out there that can beat or match the feel of the Escalade on the road, because of the fact that it has a 6.2 liter V8 engine, but also because it has a stretched wheelbase. You get this ridiculously smooth ride and a very stable feel that is absent in smaller SUVs. And the V8 engine, despite the fact that maybe it's not the most fuel efficient thing in the world, it's absolutely a beautiful engine to live with. It has a smooth delivery, great amount of torque, and being a proven V8 engine, it always have the right kind of feel regardless of what road condition you drive. You guys already know how much I love V8 engines because I have them in my 2023 Lexus GX. And I know the world is moving away from that, and at some point we will lose V8 engines altogether. But for now, if you enjoy big trucks, big SUV with a big engine, well, this is the one you want to buy before it's too late and before all of the V8 engines are gone from this world. So that is my 25 things I want to point out on the Cadillac Escalade ESV, a gorgeous SUV that I truly enjoyed driving this week. And if I have the garage to fit this in, yeah, I probably will buy a big SUV like this. And do I like better than some other offering from the likes of Toyota and Nissan, Infiniti, or Lexus, even though none of them have a stretched version like this one? I would say so. I think this is probably the best iteration of a large 3-row SUV you can buy for the money, although keep in mind that the price tag might surprise you. If you enjoyed my video, would you kindly give me a thumbs up and make some comments? And if you haven't done so yet, would you also consider subscribing? I would truly appreciate that. And until next video, I'm signing off for now. Thank you so much.